right? Like, it's hard to grow in chaos. You're just trying to go day to day, meal to meal, week to week, and survive. And I'll start with that because I had dinner last night with the president of the Bears, Kevin Warren, and we were talking a lot about this. He knows I've been in Los Angeles. He knows I was close to the program. And, USC is now in the Big Ten, and which he used to be the president of. And we were talking a lot about Caleb Williams. And I said, first of all, he was better than you give him credit for. If you go last year, remember, they fired their head coach. They fired their offensive coordinator, and their passing game coordinator became their interim head coach against Dan Campbell, Matt LaFleur, and Kevin O'Connell. Not great. And yet he set a Bears rookie quarterback record for passing yards and touchdowns and didn't have many turnovers. But Jaden Daniels was so good. There's a comp, people comparing, and he didn't look nearly as good. But what I said last night is, here's what I witnessed. So the first year at USC, Caleb Williams was absolutely magical. I mean, people were saying he would have been the first guy picked if he'd have come out after that year. So we saw a little bit in Oklahoma, magical. First year at USC, magical. Well, the first 6 games of his second year at USC, he had 21 touchdowns and 1 pick. 6-0. He was magical. So if you go to his first 16, 17, 18 games at USC, I mean, this kid was unbelievable. And then the last 6 games, it was a disaster. What happened? And that's what we talked about. I said, USC, where Kevin Warren went to college, USC sacked him 6 times. They had been doing smoke and mirrors on the offensive line and pass protection. And it all unraveled against a really good coach and a really good Notre Dame defense. And that point forward, Lincoln Riley knew he had the #1 draft pick and didn't want him to get hurt. So he went into protection mode with Caleb, shrinks the playbook, just doesn't allow him to run certain stuff. And Caleb, knowing he's going to be the #1 pick, thought, I'm in survival mode. I can get hurt out here. And I agreed with him. So the coach and the quarterback didn't trust the protection. They shrink the playbook, and he's just trying to get through the season. He then goes to Chicago, ends up with a passing game coordinator as a head coach. The staff in Chicago is in survival mode. Caleb Williams is in survival mode, and there's no growth in survival mode. And so Ben Johnson's job in Chicago is extreme quarterback makeover. The talent's all there, but they've got to renovate the house because Caleb, his last 6 games at USC and last season, along with the Bears staff last season, it's just surviving. It's just getting play to play. And he developed some really bad habits. I did not see those habits first year at USC. I did not see those habits at the start of last year. I saw him the last 6 games at USC during and after the Notre Dame game, and I saw them all last year. So a lot of the criticism is, ask yourself, if you ever had a bad job, verbally abused, bad situation in life or at work, and you're just trying to make sure you get to your next paycheck, is there a lot of growth? Not really. And so to me, the first thing Ben Johnson does smartly, what does he do? He fixes the O-line because he can see on film that Caleb didn't trust his USC O-line or his Chicago O-line or his staff. So Ben Johnson's all about trust and erasing some really bad habits that I didn't see in the first 20 games at USC. And here's Ben Johnson on what he's seeing.
Sometimes you get wrapped up when you're in the multiple play call game, being in a perfect play all the time for the perfect coverage, that look of the defense. And really with him, it doesn't matter so much what the play call is. If it's the perfect play versus the first, then it's great, it's there. And if it's not, then he's able to find a way to make it work. I think he's going to play on time when the receivers present themselves that way. And if they're not there, if number 1 or number 2 is not there, I think he's got the ability to make it right for us.
All right, I want to talk about the...
Yeah, we're not going to talk about the Lakers. I think Colin did a great job right there highlighting how hard it is to grow in a difficult situation. And I've talked about this a lot, and I use weight training as an example, whereas if you're training properly in the first year, you can gain around 24 pounds or so of muscle. But you could train 5 years, and if you train incorrectly, you still have those 24 pounds of muscle that you could gain, that it's still there. So it doesn't matter if this is year 1, year 2, year 3, whatever. Like, you need to be in a proper situation. And that's why I kept saying, like, and before the season was even over last season, I flagged and said, I don't care what happens for the rest of the season. The season means nothing to me. And I said, in fact, I'll go as far to say is that next season is his rookie season now. I was like, I just don't care. And then and the start of this season, I'm like, I'm treating him as a rookie. I'm not like, well, this is year 2. You better have all the answers now. It's like, no, this was such a mess last season. And I think Colin took a different angle, you know, about like talking about like relationships and work. And like, I've worked for, you know, at awful places. And I mean, I worked in, and I won't go on long rants about it, because like I said, I've already talked about it as well in the past, but like, I've worked at intense, like legitimately like life or death, like true life or death, not an exaggeration. You know, at rehabs and whatnot, you know, inpatient facilities. And it was like, you are in survival mode. And not only are the patients in survival mode, but like, I did not have great management. And when you don't have great management, it's like, I could not grow as a professional. I was literally just trying to keep my head above water. I was literally just trying to keep myself from not going crazy and not causing harm to like other people, because you're just trying your best. You're just trying to just make it through the day, and there really is no growth. But the benefit is like, you do grow some resilience depending on who you are. Some people break. Some people absolutely broke. And I'll be honest, a big part of me did break. And it wasn't until years later that I could then apply the resilience and the lessons and the experience that I learned from that whole process. And you know, it took years for me to be able to be like, oh, I'm actually stronger now because of that. And I actually have more experience, more awareness, you know, more perspective, etc., etc. But during it, I was not getting stronger. And immediately after, a year after, 2 years after, I was not stronger because of it. Like, it took time for those lessons and that resilience to actually take a root into me and become part of my, you know, my being, my own, you know, timeline of maturity and whatnot. So like, this stuff does take time, but there were lessons for Caleb to learn and levels of resilience. And 2-3 years from now, when he goes on a 3-game lose streak, or, you know, he has a really brutal, tough loss in December, and you're just like, oh my God, I can't believe I had a 4 interception game. It's like, some of the resilience that you learned and cultivated in year 1, you'll be able to rely on. And it's really beneficial. And that's why it's like, I recognize that there is a tremendous amount of pressure on Caleb. And I understand why there is, and from the media, from the franchise, et cetera, et cetera. But I kept saying, like, I do believe that the pressure is all on Caleb, but I don't think it necessarily should. I want to give this year 2, give him free range to look really awesome in some games and look really bad in some games. You know, for him to make a beautiful throw and for him to make one of the worst throws you could ever imagine and be like, you lost us the game. You did. You made the mistake and you lost us the game. Right. And it's okay that it happened, because it's, you know, it's funny that we still have to kind of like make this line between like year 1 and year 2, or it's just kind of like, well, you should know now, or you should already be great. Like, it's so funny to see all the people in the comment section, especially, like, jump and be like, oh, all the excuses are coming for him already, or, oh, he's obviously not that good. You know, I got in a whole back and forth with someone recently, and like, and they were just like, well, the fact they're making him think too much, and the fact that he has to work on all of this is ridiculous, and this or that. And it's like, no, it's not. It's called growing. It's called developing. Like, it's like people have no idea how much coaching and how much developing is still taking place at the NFL level. Like, it's actually shocking to me, because you know, like, we have so many quarterbacks over the years, especially the most recent one, where we just think that these guys become so great just because. Like, that's not how this works. You have to grow, you have to develop, you have to be coached. Like, that's how this works. Why do you think NFL teams have so many coaches? Why do you think these coaches get paid so much money? Coaching matters. Coaching matters such an insane amount. these players do not just magically become great just because. People think that their greatness is inevitable. Like, well, you just go through puberty and you start growing. Like, of course you're going to start growing facial hair. Of course you're going to grow to 6'4". Like, it just takes time. I didn't have to do anything to start to grow facial hair, to reach my peak height. I didn't have to do nothing. I just had to wake up, drink water, and have some food, and that's it. As long as I drank water and ate food and slept, it was gonna happen. People think that that's how it happens in sports. That's not how it happens. That's not how this works. That's not how this works. Michael Jordan wasn't winning anything until he got Phil Jackson. Kobe needed Phil Jackson. And again, just because you have quarterbacks and other players still win without, like Tom Brady obviously winning with Bill, but then winning without him. Like, let's not pretend like that Tom Brady didn't tremendously benefit from Bill. And I'm just not going to be able to find the clip in time, but like Tom Brady was talking about himself and he was talking about Mahomes. And I think he was talking about another quarterback. I think maybe Drew Brees. And he was talking about how like it is such a massive gift to get drafted in the league. And he was speaking for himself to have Bill Belichick. And then he referenced, Patrick Mahomes having Andy Reid. That it's just night and day having a great coach and not. And that the very foundation of their success is that. And again, ask Patrick Mahomes. They asked him, how long will this run last? And he said, as long as Andy is here. So the fact that we then don't want to give like any of that to Caleb, and that's it, because then you could say, well, what about other quarterbacks? They don't have great coaches and they do this, that, and the third. And it's like, yeah, you have to try to evaluate. You have to try to see. Justin Fields didn't have a great coach, but he played long enough. Do you think that there was did you see enough where you could reach a conclusion in one way or the other? And it's like, and you try your best to make sense of it. Doesn't mean you're 100% right. But in a messy, sloppy situation, you're like, who do I think did better in that situation? Who do I think still showed me enough? One quarterback can show you enough, and another quarterback can't. That's why it's not all or nothing. A quarterback who struggles because they didn't have like an amazing coach, you could still maybe evaluate enough where you're like, you know what? Even though he didn't have a great coach, I don't think there's enough here. And then you can have another quarterback who you can be like, you know what? I do think there's a lot here, and I don't think that his coach was good enough. And people could be like, well, wait a second. Why are you not offering that to so-and-so, but you are to him? And it's like, because I see different things. It's my evaluation. It's the conclusion that I'm drawing for now. And I'm open to changing my mind with new information. Also, in terms of like, what are the expectations? What do I believe the height could be? Where do I see some growth? Where do I see some maturity? The sheer fact that Caleb didn't absolutely implode and collapse and embarrass himself, I think is actually pretty remarkable. I really do. A lot of his stats were misleading. We've already unpacked that in a previous video where it was like 15 of his touchdowns came when they were down 2 scores. Like, that is something that's real. But like the fact that he wasn't an interception machine, the fact that he wasn't just making awful throws game after game after game, drive after drive after drive, the fact that he didn't crumble, the fact that he still tried to play quarterback and didn't like completely abandon what he knows. Or just try to use get out of jail free card. I'm just going to use my legs all day, every day. I think it's impressive. I think there was a lot to be impressed by considering the circumstances. And it's funny. I might have missed this, but it says Caleb named one of the biggest winners at OTAs. I don't know who named that. Like I'm confused. Like I might have zoned out for a second because who's naming? Like did everyone vote? Did the Chicago Bears name him a winner? Was it like the league? Like I don't really know what that means. Did the herd vote? I think he's going to continue to improve. I think he's going to continue to show his youth and his inexperience. I think he's going to be able to show us moments where we're like, yep, that's why he got drafted number 1. I think there's going to be a lot to really, really like. And it's one of the more fascinating things to me is seeing people really just doubt what he can do and really just don't believe it. And it's like, it's shocking to me because I think in such an awful scenario, he pretty much still proved that he could be like a starter. Again, even if he's just the 32nd best, someone has to be the 32nd best quarterback in the NFL, right? Like it's got to go to someone. Like he's at the very least proven that he's a starting quarterback in the NFL already, year 1. in an awful situation. He proved that he at least belongs on the field, that he can play football, that he can be the quarterback. Has he proven that he's going to be top 5, top 10 generational talent? Has he proven that he can lead a team to Super Bowls and win the division year after year after year? No, he has not proven that yet, and that's okay. But people keep pretending like he's he's just like, oh, this guy's just like, he's going to be lucky if he's even a third string quarterback. And it's like, we're taking things too extreme, man. But those are just my thoughts. I'd absolutely love to hear yours. What do you guys all think about Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears as a whole? What do you think about the development or the lack of development that he was able to get in year one? How he was able to survive that, and where you think he should, where he'll be able to go in year 2? Let me know in the comments below. I read every single comment. So whether you agree with me or disagree with me, either way, let's get in some discussions. Let's get in some fights. But ultimately, let's just have some fun. And please do consider subscribing. We're building an amazing community here, and I absolutely love to see you part of it. I want to build something that we all genuinely feel connected to, something that we're really excited to be part of. I think we're on our way to doing it. Please don't forget to give this video a thumbs up, as it really does help the visibility and the algorithm. Thank you so much. See you next time.